Hello YouTube. In this video we're going to go over the Shadows of Yharnam. I'm going to do a basic breakdown of the fight and what's going on. This fight, more than any other fight in Bloodborne, is the one I get a lot of questions and people complaining and just saying they can't do it. It can be tough, especially for new players. You don't really understand what's going on or what the game wants of you. So, real quick basic info. There's going to be 3 of these enemies. It's 3 versus 1. That's what makes this a little bit tough. In this fight, there will be one Shadow of Yharnam, and he'll have a sword, and he's going to aggressively pursue you everywhere you go in the arena. He's never going to stop. And it's kind of hard to hit him, because the other 2, their sole purpose is to counterattack you. When you go to hit the one guy who's chasing you, the other 2 are going to try to counterattack you. And if you're not familiar, Bloodborne has something called counterattack damage. And what that means, if you are standing still, and you get hit with an attack, it'll do a set amount of damage. But if you're running and get hit, it's going to do more. If you're hitting them and they hit you, it's going to do more damage. And that's why a lot of times in this fight, you go to hit somebody and you die. And I've seen a lot of people be like, what the fuck? Why did that one-shot me? That's why, counterattack damage. You cannot be greedy here. You have to kind of learn how to play the game. You have to fight smart and use strategy. The main sword guy, like I said, he's going to be chasing you everywhere. He's always closely followed by a guy who also has a sword, but that dude is holding a candlestick. And he can breathe fire by using the candlestick on you. So a lot of times what will happen is you'll go to hit the main guy, and the candlestick guy will jump to the side, and he will light you on fire with his fire breath. It's quite annoying. And the third guy is going to hang in the background a little bit, and he's going to shoot fireballs at you. Sometimes non-stop, he shoots 3 at a time, and they can curve around objects. They kind of have like a heat-seeking property to them. So if you think you're going to hide behind that big-ass tombstone there and you'll be safe, not really. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And speaking of that big tombstone, the Shadows of Yharnam can attack you through that, but you can't attack them through that. So it's a little bit weird. I'm not the biggest fan of this fight, but we're going to help you get through it by hopefully breaking it down and talking some stuff through it, and we'll do it slow, we'll do it boring, and then I'm actually going to quit out or die, and then we'll go back in and we'll do it full speed, but I want to slow down and explain my thoughts on this stuff. Now, a lot of this depends on what level you are as well, so you can see I'm level 34 already. I have quite a bit of points that I put into strength and skill. I have not put anything into health, and I've put 2 points into endurance by this point. And then my weapon, I managed to get to +6, and I have, 3 gems that are, you're not going to get any better gems in the normal game at this point. So that's where we are. Now, there's a lot of running around here. I'm always going to recommend being aware of your position in the arena, because you don't want to overhit a Shadow of Yharnam and then a counterattack is coming in and you need to move, but look, you can't move because you're against a wall. Same thing by doing something like this. Putting yourself against a wall, you have nowhere to go. So keep that in mind, do the best you can. I also don't lock on in this fight anymore. It's been quite a few years since I lock on, and the reason for that is because I'm going to be running around in circles a lot, and I'm going to be using the right analog stick to move the camera manually, so I can try my best to keep my eye on every single one of them at all times. My general rule of thumb is if I cannot see the guy that is shooting fireballs, I will just assume that he's shooting them even though I can't see him, and I will rely on my ears because it makes a specific sound. And all this comes with practice. Also, the weapon you have is going to depend on how, easily this little explanation that I'm trying to do here translates over. If you have a big heavy sword or something like that, it's going to use more stamina, it's going to swing slower. This one's pretty quick. So, all things considered. So, to start the fight for the very first time with this weapon, I always do the exact same thing. I transform my weapon out. I'm going to run into a set point because I know where it is, and I'm going to do a charge R2 and hit all 3 of them at one time to get the fight rolling that way. And from that point, we're going to be running around and we'll be talking over some things. So let's do it. I just run straight ahead. See these bones on the ground? Boom. I got all 3 of them. You see that? Now, all 3 shadows have the same amount of health, but they all take different amounts of damage. The one that shoots the fireballs is actually the weakest one. So, you just kind of have to roll these things. You can see I'm spinning the camera. I'm just observing them at this point. You can go in big circles like this. You can see this main sword guy is just chasing me everywhere that I go. There's his buddy following him around, and this guy hangs in the back and doesn't do much quite often. A lot of times you can run up to him and he doesn't do anything. But you see how he's also holding a weapon? Sometimes, without warning and very unpredictably, he will just smack the shit out of you with his weapon. So you can never really count on this to go the same way. To point out why I don't lock on, I will show you right here. If you lock on, your focus is right in front of you. I can't see to my right. See? I had to hear those fireballs. If I wasn't paying attention or I wasn't familiar with the fight, they would have hit me. So that's why I don't lock on. Now you got a couple of options here. Let's start with this main katana sword guy that's trying to chop me in pieces right now. He's going to be someone we talk about first. And there's a few different ways you can handle this dickhead. Number one, you can wait for an attack like this. I know this one. He's done now. I will hit him twice. And look, I'm rolling away. Because look, I would have got burned. I can't hit him 15 times. I can't lock on and swing with all my heavy attacks and my charged attacks and my super attacks. You just can't. You may survive it, but you're definitely going to get hit. So that's one thing, and that's going to take a little bit of time to figure out which attacks he's doing. It's going to take you some time to get in here and recognize them. Oh, that's the one that's 3. Oh, that's the one that's 2 swings, and so on. So here we go again. He's going to do the same thing. So how many times I hit depends on what... See, his buddy? Depends on what his buddy is doing and where he is. If he would have started an attack on me, I would have just hit once and rolled away. I'm always rolling away from the danger. Sometimes it's back, sometimes it's left, right, and so on. The other option you have with this asshole is to hit him first. Meaning, we lead him around, we make sure fireballs are not incoming, and we just go towards him and hit him before he hits us, and we roll away just the same so we don't get counterattacked. And we just run in circles, and we're very patient. It's the only way to do this fight. And I probably could have hit him there. But we're going to do this, like I said, slow and boring. 1 and 2, and I have to roll, and again. You never know which way they're going to dash, so I did end up dashing into the guy I just hit, and it worked out, but that was a little bit scary. The third option you have with this guy is to lock on at the right time and parry him. And take the visceral. But you see, I'm getting counterattack, so I need to see what's going on and roll away from danger. See, I would have got burned, I would have got chopped if I just stayed there. So that's some of the basics. You can make this your own all you want. Now I'm going to leave him right there, and there's a very specific reason I will cover soon. We're moving on to this guy. You see, 2 hits and I'm gone, because I would have got counterattacked again from my blind side. Now, this guy's a little hard to hit, because, you know, you're getting chased by people the whole time, and he stands still, so it's not really a great opportunity to run over there and just hit him a whole bunch. You can see he goes into, like, full-on machine gun fireball guy at some points. But here's the thing about the main katana guy. He seems to start his attacks within a range. You see how I just went into the range and back out to trigger it? We're going to use that to our advantage here and later. You'll see. So go within the range and get out of the range. Go within the range and get out of the range. Sometimes you got to roll. Because if we do that, we can then, while he's busy with one swing, we buy ourselves a little bit of time to get a few hits. There's a good example of that guy fighting back. And we're just going to rinse and repeat this. And, you know, I'm just strafing these things. I'm pretty comfortable. You can roll them. If you're not comfortable strafing, you can also run. The reason I personally don't run is not a strategy. It's just because I have a problem where I like to think I'm done running and try to roll, but I actually jump like that, and that's not good in this fight for me. So I just don't do that for personal reasons. But see, I'm really worried about him hitting me with his weapon, so I was ready for it. Alright, so let's try to get these 2 idiots together a little bit. Trigger an attack. There we go. 1, 2. Now he's going to stay there. And you notice I haven't hit the guy in the middle yet. The middle health bar. That's the guy with the candlestick right in front of me that's breathing fire. And there's a reason for that. He's not someone that we're going to hit right now. If you don't know, the Shadows of Yharnam have a different phase. Their last phase. And at any time in this fight, if any individual health bar gets to a certain point, they will all transition into their final phase. And when they do that, they will grow snakes out of their body, and they will get some new attacks. This guy that's shooting fireballs at us will still shoot the same exact fireball attack, but he can also shoot one up in the air that's a little bit delayed. It comes down onto the ground and has an AoE blast radius to it. So he'll have that. The 2 guys with swords will have stretchy arm attacks, and what I mean by that is whatever hand their sword is in, they will suddenly get rubber band arms that can hit you from like this far away. It's quite annoying, and it can hit you through tombstones and everything. So the last thing I want to do in this fight is send this into its last phase while all 3 of them are alive. That's the worst case scenario for me, because it gets very difficult. So I have a strategy here. You notice I have a beast pellet equipped, because I'm not the strongest in the world. I don't have the best gems, but we should be fine. What I'm going to do, at a specific time, I'm going to take a beast pellet, and I'm going to hit this main katana guy one more time. And when I do, he's going to transition into his final phase, as will the rest of him. A little bit out of sync sometimes, it's a little dicey. But by doing it that way, I hope to be able to kill this guy dead before the transition animation is even done, because it does take a second or two for them to be finished with the transformation. So right out of the gate, we'll only have 2 shadows left in their final phase. It'll be the guy that shoots fireballs and the dickhead with the candlestick. If it goes perfectly and I can manage this right, I will be able to not instantly, but I will be able to extremely quickly kill this guy with the sword, and then run over there and start working on the guy that shoots fireballs at me. And sometimes you can kill him also. So by the time the last phase is active 100%, you have only 1. But that's a little bit harder to do. If you're wondering when they transition, take a look at the 2 health bars that are pretty low. If you put your finger over the edge of what's left of the health bar, it's kind of hard to explain. Basically, look at the word Shadow of Yharnam. If you added the word Yharnam again, so the health bars all said Shadow of Yharnam, Yharnam. There's a tiny little spot underneath in each individual health bar. It's like a little gap in that white chalk-looking outline. That tells me where they're going to transition. So if you look at the top health bar and the bottom health bar, they're both close to that. They're a little bit above it, obviously, but I don't want to hit them again because it will trigger the final phase. So I need to take a beast pellet or a buff or whatever you want to do here, but you have to be careful, because if you try to take it while fireballs are incoming, like now, I wouldn't have time to take what I wanted as far as a buff or a pellet and still get clear of the fire, so I have to wait. Like here will work. And just be patient. And the reason I don't hit the guy in the middle, I mean, other than the opening hit, he's damaged a little bit, but the reason I don't worry about him at all is because at the end we can catch him in a nice little loop. Look at this. Alright, now, let's lock on and fire my gun. Fire my gun. Fire my gun. Fire my gun. Now we're within attack range. 1 hit, move with them. Single hit, move with them. Single hit. You see what's going on here? It's a controlled loop. It's an AI loop. Now, I know I said we're going to do it in slow motion and then quit out or die and do it in fast pace, but that went really well. I decided to just go ahead and finish the fight for a shorter video. What I just did there is called Happy Feet. And when it's that specific guy with the candlestick and he's the only one left, you can see how I locked on him and I was firing my gun. When you fire your gun, it's not about hitting them. It's about getting him to dash to one side or the other. Because in their final form, they can summon gigantic snakes that come out of the ground, and I want to try my very best to prevent that. We got pretty lucky. Didn't happen at all. So I decided to roll with it and finish the fight. I shot my gun, he dashed to one side or the other. I moved forward a little bit and I shot my gun again, he dashed to one side or the other. I rinsed and repeated, and I did it and did it and did it until I was in attack range. Once I was in attack range, I stopped hitting him. I was locked on. It's a single R1. He will always dash one direction or the other. All I do is move forward. I'm not running, but since I'm locked on to him, I'm kind of tied to him. So if he moves to my right, I will move to my right automatically because I'm locked on to him. And at that point, it's about rhythm. 1 hit, he dashes, move with him. 1 hit, he dashes, move with him, and rinse and repeat again, and it's pretty much over from there. Once you trap him in that AI loop, it's over. Now, I see a lot of people get to that point and they start doing this. You can't do that. He's going to counterattack you or dash away or something like that. So it really matters to be slow and controlled. So I hope that answers some questions for the people that are struggling with shadows. Like I said, your level, your skill set, the weapon, the damage you do, there's so many different variables. But I hope that my semi-informative, slow running in circles breakdown helps you understand what's even going on. And from there, you can come up with your own approach and kick their ass. Always make this your own and never give up.